Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to this Bava Metzia daf Samach Gimel. We're going to begin on the bottom of Samach Beis Amud Beis. Second to last line. El Omer Rava Ki Shechim Rabbi Ishia Nafak Lavisi. That when Rabbi Ishia dies, says Rashi, Kishomas Rabbi Ishia Yitzlik Rossi. He's going to go out to greet me. As we continue to Samach Gimel with Aleph. Dimit Taratzna masnisin kavase, because I'm going to be able to show that the statement of the masnisin is in accordance to him. Says Rashi, Shani ragil l'taretz mishnayos shasam Rabbi kibraisha shasam hu de kavase amarava b'hagoizel basra. So basically, I'm accustomed to be able to answer the various mishnayos. Stam Mishnayos, similar to the Brises, and therefore I'm able to make this link, and therefore Moshe will be greet me because of my efforts. If let's say you have a person that's claiming his debt of 100, and he's standing by a person's silo which has grains in it. If Yomi says Tainli Ma'osai, Shani Roitza Likach Mechitin. Now this is the Malva speaking. The lender says, you owe me money, we'll say $100. I need to buy wheat. So could you please give me my money that you owe me so I can buy wheat? V'Amrlo Chitin Yeshli Shani Noisinocha. I actually have wheat that I can give to you. Sevi Asein Olai Kishar Shalachshav. So let's go out, and we'll be able to assess the amount of wheat that I have based on the fair market value. Hagizman, chitin limchor. It came time for the price to be sold. It turned out that the value of the wheat went up in value. So Amrlo, he said, Tainli chitin shani rotza l'machron. So he says, give for me the wheat. So again, originally he sold him, it was a loan, he gave him money. They said, no, I'm going to give you wheat later on. Now when he said this originally, the price was a lower price, and the price of the wheat went up. So now the guy said, no, I really don't want wheat anymore. I'm really interested in wine. I want to be able to take the wheat, which is at a higher price, give that to me as stipulated, so this way I can take it and buy wine, which is at a higher price. So Amrlo, he says, Yeshli yayin shani noisanocha. I actually have wine to give you. I don't have to give you wheat and then you'll buy the wine, barter it for wine. I'll give you wine. Sevi asinolai kashar shalachshab. Let me give it to you based on the current market value. Hagizman yayin limchar. And then it came time for the wine to be sold. The wine was up in value. I want to sell it because I want to buy oil with this. I have the oil. I'll give it to you. We'll do it based on the current market value. In all these situations, im yeshlo mutter. If the debtor had these items, then it's allowed. Ein lo aser. But if he didn't have them, it's aser. So let's flesh this out. As we said already in yesterday's daf, in the event that the lova had these items, so if there was, for example, wine, if this guy already had the wine, it's like the lender owned the lova's item. He already owned this item before the price increased. So it's not that the price went up and now it may look like ribis. Because the lova had the wine, it's ki'il like the malva already had some tfisa, some kinyan of sorts in this wine, even though he actually didn't make a proper kinyan. But nonetheless, since the lova had it before the price increased, so therefore he's allowed to take this wine. Since if the lova would retract, because once the statement was made and he said this, so he would receive a mishapara. So therefore, even though it's not a kinyan, but it's enough that the malva has some tfisa over this wine. So therefore, in the event of yeshloi, then it's mutter. Says Rashi, if he has it, the zachmuhu hay mahashta. It's kilu that he was kainit zeich from before, as Rashi says. V'afgav d'lo mashach, even though Hitaka didn't even do a kinyan on it, didn't do mashicha. Ki moikre b'rshusei mukri. We say that when it went up in value, it's kilu like it went up in the value. The value went up in the hands or the rishus of the malva. V'lo havi ribis, and therefore it's not like it went down that when he was giving something now that is of higher value. It's kilu like he owned it, the malva, and then it went up in value, went up in the value in the malva's hands. Again, as we mentioned, there will be a mishapara in that situation. However, ein lo aser. Now, why? If at the time of the sale there was no wine, since he paid with his chov, it looks like ribis, and that he's actually getting it at a higher price. Says Rashi, it's not ki'ul like it was in his hands. The zuzi, when he got the money, paisek, it was arranged. So again, since he didn't have it at that time, so it went up in value, but it wasn't at the time. It was a lower value. The Lova didn't have it, so it was ein, so the Malva didn't have what to be able to even potentially get it. So there until after later on, after it went up in value, that's when at that point, let's say the Lova then acquired it. So if that's what happened, so then it's going to be it'll look like ribis. Okay, and this was the question that we had before, which was question. Let's see. This was question. Okay, what was that? Question 4, which we're going to see again over here on the next Amud, basically says like this: that hayu achitim nimcharos b'shar yadua he muter limchor chitin behuzlu k'dei lekabel mais ata v'lasas achitin la'achar zman. So it's all totally again im yeshlo or im ein loy. Okay. Fine, but we'll get to that. Okay, so that's we're not really up. We kind of touched upon that there, but let's continue. So my lokach, what does it mean when it says lokach? Lokach b'halvasai, that it was taken for the loan. Amarava shmamina mid Rab Oishia tlos. This statement actually teaches us from Rabbi Oishia 3 distinct dinim. First of all, shmamina demamidin malvel gabi perais. Veloyam deloiki sur habol yadahu. He's saying that you could prepay an item without money, even with a debt the seller owes him. So therefore, this is what ended up happening, as we see. Because, let's see if Rashi says this. Mamidin milval gabi pero, says Rashi, shieshlo al chavero. If there's a debt, so you could say that you're prepaying with the fruits that you currently have for that loan. Al gabi peros livsok alehim peros kishar shalachshav kol yimos hashana. So even though you didn't actually give him the fruits, but it's like prepayment, like the fruits that I have, it's key like you have it now. So that's why I said is even if the fruits go up in value, it's not a problem. It doesn't look like ribas. Shmamina hudi yeshlo. It's only going to work if the seller or the lova has the fruits. Shmamina isa likid Rav Yanai. Also, we are going to hold in accordance to Rav Yanai. Who's that? Yom Rav Yanai mali hein mali demehen. So what does that mean? So let's look at Rashi. Meditani hagiyazman chitin limchor sham loy hachitin b'dalmim hashar shalashah b'yoiker. So what do we say? That you could prepay for the fruits. What happened? Only if those were the very same fruits that this person had. Upaisek yain kashar shalashah b'zol shmamina isel Rav Yana. The pasak al haperos v'higizman limchor. It's time to sell them. Uba b'tavo. He wants to claim those fruits. The ein lo mekabel himenu hadamim kashar shalashah. Damali Makabel Hain Atzmo Mali Demehen. So according to one shita, you can only prepay for fruit only if he receives those very fruits, but not if he receives money or another item, as it appears to be a loan, like ribis. So this is a machlokes, because according to Rabbi Yana, he says no, mali hein mali demeim. It shouldn't just be the fruits, but anything it should be allowed. Dietmar. That he says that you can only do this prepayment with the fruits that you currently have, and it doesn't matter, as you said, even the fruits go up, but you can't do this with money, because then it looks like ribis. Rabbi Yana yomer mali hein mali demehen. You could do this also when it comes to money. Now, meisvei, the Gemara asks a question. Kulam, in all those cases, im yesh lo mutter. As long as you have the oil, the wine, then it's mutter. You can make this prepaid stipulation. And it's again like the Malva had it before it went up in value. So Rav Huna, Rav, so Rav Huna said the name of Rab, Bishit Moshach. It's only in a situation where he did a kinyan. He acquired the wheat by pulling it originally, and therefore now it's in his reshus. So before we were thinking maybe he didn't do a kinyan, but as we said in Rashi, it's the fact that otherwise this guy would receive a mishapara. No, maybe the only time taka that this would work is only a situation where he actually did a kinyan on those things. So when it says, one second, if he did a kinyan, so of course he can take them. It's obviously, it is in his reshus. So of course if it goes up, it's in his reshus. So what's the chiddush? Actually what happened was, it was put in the side, in a corner. And Rashi says, Vashminan diyichad milsahi. Even though Yitaka didn't do a kinyan mashiach, he didn't actually pull it, but the fact that it was designated that this will be your wheat, so therefore that's also sufficient that it's like it's in his reshus. Yishmol Eimer Hamani Rabbi Huda Di Eimer Sad Echad Baribas Mutter. He actually says this is like accordance to the shita of Rabbi Huda, that when it comes to even to Sad Echad Baribas, it's mutter. So what is that? It says Rashi, Ribis she'enu alidei halva, el alidei mecher, pamim shabal alidei ribis. So there's some, in a situation where you do something in which there is a potential it could end up turning into ribis, or possibly not turning into ribis. There's only a sad echad, one side, so then we say it's not going to be a problem. So machlok is whether sad echad ribis is mutter or aser. The sanya harishahaya noishe. Again, you lent money to your friend, so you're the malva. But sedehu mecher, and he ends up making his field a sale. So bizman shahamoicher oichel peros mutter is when the moicher is eating. If the moicher eats the fruits, it's mutter. Loikeach oichel peros aser. If the buyer eats the fruits, then it's aser. Behuda oimer af bizman shahaloikeach oichel peros mutter. Even in the time where the buyer eats the fruits, it's mutter. So what exactly is going on over here? So let's look at Rashi. So Rashi says like this: Sad echad beribis mutter, ribis sheinu al yidei halva. It's not a loan, el al yidei mecher. So we're talking about a sale. So we're not talking about mamish halva, about lending money, which is ribis deraisa. We're talking about a mecher transaction. Pamim sheba al yidei ribis. Now, sometimes when you're engaged in this sale, sometimes there could be a turn of events of ribis. Kigon, zu, for example, this. Im yukru haperos, let's say the fruits go up in value, yishalim damim, and you pay, yesh kan ribis. So then there's going to be ribis if it went up in value. The im lo yishalim damim, but let's say you didn't actually pay in money, el peros, shapasak kuimo, but if it was, you paid back with the fruits, ein kan ribis, hainut sadechad beribis. Pamim yesh ribis, pamim ein ribis. That's what sadechad means. Rashi says sometimes it's ribis, sometimes it's not. Shari eno paisik imo almanaso shalom damim el peros. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to end up violating ribis. So what ended up happening? So Rashi explains. So what is this scenario? So a person lent money, and then v'aso sadehu mecher. Basically what he's saying is this. Im ein ani noisin lecha mekan ad yom ploni. So the lova, the borrower says that if I don't pay you back on time, hari hasad shalcha, then you'll be able to take my field. So my field, therefore, on some level, it's going to be like a sale. It was a loan, but now all of a sudden the field turns into a sale. So the question is, what's the status of the fruits on that field? So this is, again, it says that the bisman shehamoicher ochel peros mutter. If the seller is eating the fruits, it's mutter because they're his fruits. The lokeach, it could be an issue of ribis. But yet, for some reason, Rabbi Huda says al bisman shehamoicher ochel peros mutter, that the buyer could also eat the fruits. But you would think that may be an issue of ribis. Why? So why? What's the reason why he's allowed to eat these fruits? So Rashi says, why not? Because maybe it won't be a sale. He'll pay back the monies. Right. So this is a stipulation that this field will be yours only if I don't pay you back. But if I do pay you back, so then it was never a mecher and you were eating these fruits. So why are you able to eat these fruits? That should be problematic because that's ribis. So the other point is that it's only sad echad, and that's what we're saying. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Afmazman Shalkei Choichel Peres Mut. Emily Rabbi Yehuda Masa Babaisas Ben Zunin. There was a story Shosa Sedeu Mecher that he actually was owed money. He owed money, and he ended up making this deal that if I don't pay you back, you can take my field as a sale. Al pi Rebbe Lezer ben Azariah, the great Rebbe Lezer ben Azariah. The buyer was eating the fruits. It was the seller of below lekeach. So you got the facts a little bit mixed up. So what's the difference? So Rabbi Sadecha b'ribas, as we said, at the time of the loan, it was not for sure ribas. So therefore, again, if you hold sadechad, because again, if he doesn't pay back, so then it will be a mecher, and therefore he was eating that which was his. However, if he actually did pay him back in the proper time, then that guy had really no right to eat those fruits. So therefore, that's ribis, the fact he ate those fruits. So therefore, we see it's sadechad b'ribis is the machlokas, and therefore we could say the same thing over here, that this whole shita we're talking about sadechad b'ribis is mutter because we're discussing a situation of again the possibility of ribis not taking place. The question is ribis in which needs to be paid back, says Rashi. Rabbi Yehuda gufe lo shari. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't allow you to eat these fruits. El almanas hachser. You have to pay back. Shim lo haya mecher. If it wasn't a sale, yasul peris, because that means if it wasn't a sale, it means I paid you the loan on time. So then you shouldn't have eaten those fruits, and you just paid me back for the fruits. V'yafil hachi aser. He still says it's aser. V'yafil hachi aser tanakama debishas achila ka'achol ribis v'avdil iser. So at the time he was eating it, it was still, let's say, unknown. Was he going to pay the loan, or is he going to end up selling the field? He doesn't know what's going to end up happening. So at that time, since it was shaykh that, and even if, let's say, again, what ended up happening was he didn't pay the loan. He ended up paying off the loan, which turns out it ended up being ribis. He still has to pay back. The question is, the fact that at that moment that he was eating it, so therefore he was doing something wrong, because if you hold, again, you either hold sadechad ribis as aser, or let's say this is an element of ribis, so therefore the guy had no right to be able to eat these fruits, even though he has the ability to pay them back. So what's the ribis? Why would there be ribis? Because you have to pay it back. But the point is that while you're eating it, so you have taken advantage in that situation. That you ate more than you should have. You took back more than you gave out. And therefore that's the opinion. Question 3. Aser. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Afmazman Shalokechol Paris Mutter. So what's the machlokas? As we just said, question 3. Abaye Amar Sadecha Beribas Igmanai, Rabbi Amar Ribas Amadas Hachsuk Manai. Weiter. Omer Rabba Hashadi Amar Rabbi Yanis. Now that we've said that it is according to the sheet of Rabbi Yanis, we continue with Samakim and Beis. Mali Hein Mali Demehen, that he doesn't he says it doesn't even matter if it's the same, you're paying back with the same fruits. So if that's what he says, Amrinan Mali Demehen Mali Hein Nami Amrinan. Upoiskin al Shar Shibashuk. And basically you should be able to make the calculations based on the current market price. The alpha b she'ein lo, even if he doesn't have it. So this is a huge chiddush, because according to him, because as we've been saying now, maybe the only time this works is only yeshlo, where the lova has it at the time of the stipulation. But if he didn't have it, so then it would not work because it's next to karibus. But according to him, shouldn't make any difference whether you have it or not. It should still be okay. So he asked the kasha. It says kulam im yeshlo motor himein lo aser. It says beferish that if it's aim ein loy, that it's aser. So it's clearly not like what Rava said. So hasam halva hachazvini. It depends. If we're dealing with a loan, which is the actual issue of ribis, so then you're right. We're gonna say that im ein lo, it's aser. However, when it comes to a transaction like a sale, so then he's gonna hold even if ein lo, it'll still be mutter. Rabbi Yosef my taima Rabbanan Paiskin al Shar Shabashuk. What is the whole notion of assessing the current value of the marketplace of these fruits? That even if you don't have it at the time, it's still not considered to be ribis, even though the price goes up. The Armele Shakila Tivusich Vishadi Achizri. Literally, take your goodness and throw it into the thorns, basically as though to say, you haven't given me any benefit. Mayahanisli, what benefit is it? If I had the money in my hand, having mizavnina bihini bishili bezula. So basically he's saying, I lent you money, I'm asking you for my money back. So we're saying, maybe you shouldn't, if ein lo, it's a problem. What do you mean? If he would have just given me the money, then I would be able to have bought it right then and there for that price. So therefore, I shouldn't lose out in this situation. If that's the case, then you should be able to say the same thing. Let's go back to Rashi before Hini Vishili. These are places. They're next to the city of Pumbedisa. But they live there. Okay. So he says, how about when it comes to sabasa? Now we know that you cannot lend someone a saw, and they're going to pay you back a saw, even though it's the exact same amount of wheat. But the problem is the fluctuation of prices. Therefore, it's a problem of ribis. So why can't you do it? Mishum dematzi. Because you should be able to say that you could do it, because you can always say shekila tivasech v'shadi achizre. Take your goodness and throw it into the thorns. Yermalechiti de kadchi kalboi, says Rashi. Bidmia v'chiim hinachti chitim shali ba'oit sari. If you would have given me my own wheat, I lent you wheat. So if you just give me back the wheat, kum hayu geshamim yardim alehim, rain going to go on them. Shahayu saimchais behen, they're going to get better. Smachim was kalkel lishnachrina dekadchi loshin chamimus. It's going to get hot, heated up. So basically, l'chari, you should have the same svara, and you should be able to say, well, sabasah, just give me back like my wheat. So there shouldn't be an issur of ribis, but we know that there is an issue of ribis when it comes to sabasah. So therefore, this svara shouldn't work either. That we shouldn't say that in case of im ein lo, we should say it is us. So simply no. Hasam halva hachazvini. Again, we're saying when it comes to the case of sabasah, the issue is it was a loan. When we're dealing with a loan, so then we're strict, and therefore sabasah is aser, and so too ein lo would be aser. Mashein kain, if we're dealing with a sale, so then sabasah is mutter, or that im ein lo will be mutter. Somale adabaraba l'rava b'hab boy l'meisav zuzi l'safsira. Understand? There's still benefit because you need to pay for the broker, the middleman, says Rashi. Safsira sarsor shime vakishal moicher chitin nimsa mishtaker zuzi bakdamas amois. You are benefiting over here. The fact that you don't have to pay the broker. Sarmalei de koyoivle nami. That the lekech taki, you're right, needs to pay that as well. You're right. That part also needs to be paid. Ravashi Ermino Zuzi de Inchi Inhu Abdi Le Safsiruse. That basically money talks, that you don't need a broker over here. The fact that this person has money. Okay. Question 4. Hayu hachitin nimcharos b'shar yadua. Ha'im mutter limchar chitin b'huzla. Can you sell it at a lower price? Can you kabel mois ata to get money now? Veloses achitin lachar zman. So yeshel chitin mutter imein lo chitin aser, as we said before. Rabbi Yosef Tavayu Haiman diyoim zuzi tara charifa. Let's say a person gives money for the early market value price. Sarich lis chazuye lebeidari. He needs to show himself at the threshing house. So let's see Rashi. Haposek al haperos ad shlo yatsa hashar. So basically, you again, before the market opens up, you already have an early market price value. El shar habacher. It's the earlier price. He's samach katzer moichen bazula. Apparently, it's sold at a lower price at that time. So says Rashi that you need to be by the abeidari, by the threshing house, shel moich of the seller. Kshudash v'zayra tuvoaso. He's involved in the process of winnowing and threshing the grain. Lahachi nakit tara charifa shein poisklav el lami sheyesh l'garmin. You have to have an actual silo. Dilu shar habara poiskin af lami she'ein loy. Okay. So lamai, what exactly is this talking about? It says back Lamar. Ila mikna, is it to acquire the wheat? Halokani, but he didn't acquire it. By just showing up, that doesn't mean anything, but being there is not enough. You actually have to make a kinyan. Ila kabulele mishapara, so kilo mischazi nami makabule mishapara. Why are we saying that he'll show up and therefore he'll receive a mishapara? But the fact that he already made the stipulation, even without showing up, he should still be chayav a mishapara. He'll still get a mishapara if he retracts. So oilam makabule mishapara. Umandiyav zuzi tara charifa. Who's the person who gives at an early market value price? Lebei trey tlasayoiv. It's a couple of sellers. So imis chazile samchadaite v'ilo. So if he sees it, he'll be. If you see the guy there, you'll be semach das. V'ilo amrulei amina de ashkachas peri de shapira mididi de shaklas. A person will say, well, probably he's just not going to collect my fruits, but he's going to get from somewhere else. If it's all totally on being samech das, whether this person's going to get it or not, I feel ashche b'shuka, even if he's in the marketplace, that would be enough too. Amr Rav Nachman, Klo de Ribisa, the general rule of Ribis, Kol agar natar le'aser. Any time we're dealing with a person who will receive reward for delaying of payment, so that is aser. Says Rashi, Schar hamtana. Again, the reward of delay. Yimoizel gabe mishum hamtana, shemaktim lo hamois, v'mekach ein lo moicher achshav. Remember Rav Nachman, Haiman diyoiv zuze lekira. A person gave money to, Rashi says, a moicher shava, someone who sells wax. The ko'azli dalid. You get four chalois shava bezuza, 4 loaves of wax, 4 items of units of wax for a zuz. The Amrulay, and the seller said, Yavinalach hey, I'll give you 5. So isnehu gabe shari. If it's by him, it's allowed. Leisnu gabe aser. But if it's not by him, it is aser. Says Rashi, Lazman plaini v'hikdim lo hamois achshav. So isnehu, Im biyadai, if the wax was in this guy's hands, then it's mutter. Although einam be'ir, let's say he has it, but it's not in the city, or he lost the key, etc. It's allowed, says Rashi, to havile halveini ad shiavu b'ni. It's Keel is saying that it's really yours, but let me just get the key, as we saw elsewhere. However, if he doesn't have, then it's also so pshita l'tzricha d'isle ashroi b'masal. So he says, as Rashi says, hamoicher said the seller afu noisin mois. He also gave money. Who pasak imacherim al shava, and he also made deals with others regarding wax. Madatei b'kivan d'isle ashroi b'masa. Since there are these people in the city, ka'ad shiavoi b'ni o ad shiemsa mafteach dami. So the fact that there's other people that have this, it's ki'ilu like he has it, and therefore it should still be okay. Kamashman kivan demechasri gavaina, since he doesn't have it, kaman deleisnu dami. Since it's not by him, even though he can maybe obtain it from someone else in the city, that's not enough, and therefore we see that you cannot do that. Okay. We're going to stop there. Let's perhaps see one more question. Question TA19. Poiskin al shar shebashok afu bi she'ein loy. Madul nechshav. Why is this not considered a kain and niskar avor hakdamos hamoy shenois lo kishar hazoil? L'chayra, again, he's giving it a lower price, getting the lower price. Madua in as a heter hazeh b'sa b'sa. So we say like this: the oimerle lo hervachasi klum. So we said you haven't caused me any gain. As we said, it's like take your goodness and throw it to the thorns. Ta'isi yachal liknois b'zol b'yom hava. I could have gotten it at that lower price at the time of the loan, and therefore, when it went up, it's keel like it went up in my rishos. Savasa havi halva lo hatiru. When it comes to savasa, that's a loan, and as we said, by a loan it's not mutter. By a loan we're strict, and also we make a distinction when it comes to a case of a loan. It's dafke yeshlo, but ein lo doesn't work. Masha ein kain, when we're dealing in the case of a mecher, then according to the shita, even ein lo, it would be okay. Adkan.